Very interesting game with Arkansas taking on Texas A&M. Mike mentioned it off the top in regards to Texas A&M possibly making a bid as being the second best team in the SEC Western Division. Arkansas is unscathed at this point, something we haven't been able to say for the Hogs for the last couple of years. They've been a November team, but they've got it rolling early. Of course, the big win at TCU when they could have let it get off the rails after blowing a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter. This should be a very entertaining game. It's always Kevin Sumlin, the passing guy, versus Brett Bielema, who wants to establish the run. So we've got differing styles in this one, Mike, when we've got Texas A&M and Arkansas going at it at AT&T.
Yeah, Mark, I really like Texas A&M here. John Chavis has that defense looking really good. If you go back and look at the film against UCLA, that Texas A&M defense played really well against what I think is a pretty good offense. Josh Rosen can throw the ball. They're not going to be as good of a rushing team, I think, as Arkansas. But when you look at that Texas A&M defensive front, that's a really good defense, and they're playing well. You turn it around, you look at the Texas A&M offense. I think they're TCU with some toughness. I actually think they're a better offense than TCU. I think Trevor Knight was completely underrated coming into the season. A lot of people were talking about he couldn't cut it at Oklahoma. You got to remember, he got hurt at Oklahoma, and he just did not have he was not protected very well at Oklahoma. He's had a whole year to get healthy, and I think he's having a great first 3 games for Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is going to be a team that you're going to have to deal with on the national scene. I think Arkansas is good. I just don't know if they're going to be able to beat Texas A&M. This game's went to overtime the last 2 years. A&M's riding a 4-game streak. It's going to be a great environment at AT&T Stadium. They're at Dallas, probably 100,000 people to watch the game. This is probably going to be the second best game of the weekend, but I think Texas A&M pulls this one out 31-24 against Arkansas.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned Trevor Knight, but I've really been impressed with that A&M running game. And you mentioned them probably being tougher than TCU, and that's part of the reason. They're I think someone's probably realized in his time in the SEC transition from Big 12 that A&M needs to become more of a not running team, but need to be able to run the ball. That really helped them melt away that game against Auburn last week. But Arkansas is only allowing 3.7 yards per carry, so it's kind of a strength versus strength right now. I think TCU had about 6 yards per carry over on them. So, but the Arkansas, on the other side of the ball, can they grind it out? Can they keep that A&M offense off the field? It's kind of been, I'm sure, the game style they've wanted to play the last couple of years, and it's kind of turned out that way. And you mentioned the games going into overtime, some close games. But the defense, I think, for Arkansas should be nice and rested as long as their game plan is coming along. The Aggies allowed 236 yards to Auburn. Auburn kind of got their running game going last week against Arkansas. And now, I think Arkansas is going to come in and just try and shove it down their throats. But for A&M, the defense has been, lights out. But I think what I see in here, I think the 3-0 for Texas A&M looks a little bit better than the 3-0 from Arkansas. But this game is really, really hard for me to pick. I want to pick A&M just because I think they're more a complete team, but I think the style of play Arkansas might come in with may be the deciding factor. So I'll go a little bit, and I'll go Arkansas with a close win.
So for a few years now, it's been a Texas A&M team that's been defined by throwing the ball downfield, first with Johnny Manziel and then with a number of quarterbacks, Kyler Murray in the mix in particular, to elite wide receivers. But it's been a defense that's been hit in the mouth and back down and not been able to play the style of play that you need to play in the SEC. This is going to be the first time that we could possibly see a Texas A&M team take a stand physically against a very physical team, and they look like they're prepared to at least make it a stalemate physically. And if they can do that, then they've got superior wide receivers and defensive back play to win the game. Trevor Knight, not necessarily the threat outside the pocket that Kenny Hill presented at TCU. I need to see Texas A&M to be able to play nose-to-nose with Arkansas and not back down and be able to win this kind of football game against Arkansas. The Hogs can throw it down the field. They don't want to. They don't want to rely on it, but they had to at TCU in that kind of a shootout in the fourth quarter and overtime, and Austin Allen was up to the challenge. So Not going to give away my pick again. I don't even, to be honest, know what my pick is at this point, but I think this is a really good game and one I want to see with the Aggies taking on the Hogs. And as Mike has pointed out a number of times, this is one of those games that's going to separate the upper division and the lower division of the SEC Western Division.